All right. Hello. Thank you so much for joining this. And let me show you what the OneTracker is all about. And what we're seeing here is an application that I have been working on for the past year, something like that. So when you click on login here, it shows you some categories, right? So basically we're talking about a tracker here. OneTracker is an application that will help you keep a record of the things that you want to keep a record of, right? So in my case, I'm tracking three main categories: time trackers, fitness trackers, and behavioral trackers. So for example, in the time trackers, I have the time at which I wake up and I go to bed. As you can see, let me try to zoom this in a little bit. The images here are completely customized. So these are actually pictures of myself that I took with my camera. Actually the same camera that I am recording this with. And then this is the go to bed time. The idea here is that every day before going to bed and right after I woke up, I will press the button. Now which button? Actually not only this one, but in here. These are the actual times at which I wake up. So I press this button or I save a manual input, because sometimes I forget to press it, I forget to do it right on time, so I have to then adjust for the previous day and whatnot. Same thing applies for go to bed. Now let's go back to the fitness trackers. Now in the fitness trackers there's a little bit more action. There's three main trackers. Let's start by the simplest one, which is the body weight tracker. We're talking about simply, like my body weight, right? It's nothing too special here. I have a scale that I use on a daily basis, and then I use that to measure my weight, my body weight, and then I just manually input it here and then save that. The workout section is a little bit different. There's two types of workouts. This is the cardio section, in which I choose between elliptica. This is like in the gym, those machines that are like this, like steps like this, or the running machine, treadmill, or playing squash. For each, I just input the duration, the training session, the distance, the calories burned, and the data is also optional in case that, for example, I forgot to input yesterday's entry or something like that. The rep section is actually under construction, and it's been under construction for some months now, but the fact that I didn't continue developing this idea only means that I didn't really need it, right? And finally, the calories consumed. So this has been evolving quite a bit since it first started. The main idea is that you have two types of entries. So you either pick an item from the list or enter manually a new record. So let's start by entering a new record. So you click here and then you will basically type a type of food. So let's say, cranberries. And so how many calories on this? What, did I mistype this? Cranberries. I'm sorry about that. My English is not so good. So how many calories on cranberries? Right, cranberries, like what weight are we talking about? Maybe like, 50 gram or whatever. So how many calories? Let's say, 55. Proteins, 1 protein. Fat, 0. Carbs, 2. Salt, 0.2. 1. I have no idea. And then you can select a date, because sometimes, and this happens to me, and this was something that I developed based on my own need, when I forget to input some food that I ate in the previous day, I have to manually update it, like a previous date, right? So I can do this from here, and then if I click here on save, then this food entry is going to be saved, right? And it's going to become a template, and that's what this section here is about. In the templates, when I click here on type of food, these are all the templates that I have been adding over time. The ones on top are the most popular ones. So as you can see, I eat a lot of banana, I drink a lot of coffee, I really like this gum, I also drink a lot of beer, I eat a lot of chocolate. This is another alcoholic beverage, which is not amazing, and this is instant coffee. So my most popular items here pretty disastrous. But then, so when you click here, this is going to load all the templates. So let me take you through a template that I know that has all the nutritional values added to it. So let's say oatmeal. So oatmeal, for example, if you see, this is the caloric value, there's the proteins, the fat, the carbs, the salt, the calcium, etc. And then what I did was that I introduced this concept of the nutritional values after a couple of iterations of this product. So in the beginning, I only had the calories, right? That's why, for example, here in the daily summary, all I'm doing is counting calories. The next step for me is to build individual sections here that represent total calories consumed for the day, proteins consumed for the day, fat consumed, and so forth. But then at this stage, at the beginning, I only had the calories, so I replaced it with this carousel kind of looking thing, and then created individual attributes to the template to represent each of these. So the problem is that it would be a lot of work to, on one like big operation on the database, for example, to change all the previous values for fat and protein and whatnot. So what I decided to do was I added this edit button. So what it does is, for example, let's go to some food that doesn't have all the nutritional values. So for example, broccoli does have it, like a birthday cake, like a large slice of birthday cake, right? 500 calories, but I don't know how many proteins or fat, or right? So, but if I click here on edit, I can input those right now. So 100, maybe that's a lot of protein, but let's say, I don't know, 10 protein, maybe this is like, I don't know, 35, on carbs is gonna be, I don't know, like 70, and salt like 1, calcium, I don't know. If right now I save this, what's gonna happen is that all of the entries, all of the past entries that are associated with this same template, the proteins and the fat and the carbs, are going to be added to those documents. As I use this tool, I can create past data. Also, you can see here, I tend to eat roughly, holy fuck, roughly 3,000 calories a day, but I also exercise, so you need to bear that in mind. Let's go to the last section that has a bunch of sections inside of it. So this is the mood tracker. Everything here is related to behavior. So these are things that I track just to better understand who I am. Basically every day, 3 times a day, I have an alarm, and then I do this at 8:30 a.m., 1 p.m. and 8 p.m. And so at these times I would basically click one of these pictures representing what my mood at that moment is. Yeah, the pictures, of course, I took. This jerking off, I mean, it's pretty self-evident. Every time I jerk off, I come and press the button here. But then this kind of tells me, you know, like sometimes why am I jerking off so frequently during these days, or maybe sometimes I have like a longer span. I also sometimes bite my nails, and that's something that I'm not proud of. So in here, what I do is every time that I do something like that, I take a picture. I take a picture because this is a habit, a very bad habit that I want to change. These type of entries are different because they have an associated image. So the image is being stored in the cloud. And yeah, I mean, this is very hard to look at, to be honest. Sometimes I hurt myself and do, you know, these kind of injuries just because when I'm nervous, I tend to, you know, do this without realizing what I'm doing. Alcohol. This actually, from here, I do not input the alcohol. Alcoholic beverages and products have an associated characteristic to them that labels them as alcoholic beverages. So every time that I, through the calories tracker, input one of those, they will show up here. So this is just more like a tracker, to be honest. It's not a form itself. There's also the worthy of mention. Worthy of mention is something like a wild card. Basically, what I do with this one is I write all sort of things that I find interesting. Like, for example, I don't know, I just had today I had this really nice moment in which I had an idea of making a Udemy course, and then this was like a positive thought or negative thought, like an event, positive or negative event, and then there will be a description about it, right? And so I have many of these, and then what I do is scan for keywords and whatnot when I'm looking at the data afterwards. The last but not least is contacting my people. So contacting your people is basically a tracker where I input every time that I talk with either my mom or my kids. Either we talk through video call, voice call, or with text. What was the mood of the conversation? the duration, and finally the date. So the really interesting and powerful part of this actually is two main parts. One is how rich, enjoyable, and experienced this has been for me to build it from the ground up. It's been a wild ride since at the beginning I didn't know any JavaScript. Some concepts have actually started to sink in the way I think and I approach problems, so that's something I'm pretty proud about. The second very interesting fact is I actually have been developing my own development cycle. I have a Trello board with a backlog and some stuff that I'm working on and some blockages and whatnot. And what I do is I basically follow the same kind of development cycle that you would follow in a professional setting. I do the same thing in my work with the products that we manage there. And so I have some themes that I have identified for the app, and then each of these have different kinds of labels, some priorities, and then this is my own backlog of stuff that I need to be working on. I try to work on only one theme at a time. Right now I'm working on capture, which is why I was adding these new nutrition parts to the calories tracker, right? So this is something that has been working for me very well in the recent past. So that's the second point that I consider very interesting about this whole experience, which is I have been able to recreate the same kind of process that I go through with my developers, but like individually, right? So for example, when I was developing something, I first prototyped them like this. So for example, this is how the screen is supposed to look, and then I have this other screen and blah blah blah. So I first prototype everything on Adobe XD, and then I code it up. And the last very interesting part is of course the data. All of this data is being collected currently on a database, and then every now and then I go through the actual data and I find things about myself and that have helped me make some better decisions. So for example, I realized when I started doing this that I was eating too much, so I started eating less, eating healthier, trying to exercise more, more aware about consuming alcohol and like biting my nails and whatnot. So by looking at the data, I started to understand why sometimes my mood is higher or lower and everything in between. So this has been a very, very rewarding experience. If you have some feedback, if you have some ideas, this is something that I would love to get your thoughts about. Let's get in touch, and thank you so much for watching.